The law of gravity didn't not work for the baby just because they weren't aware of it. The exact same things are true for the other laws of the universe, but we just don't know about them or understand them, so we're not living in harmony of them. But the effects of them still affect us every single day.
You're listening to the Wealthy Woman Podcast, and I am your host and wealthy mentor, Dr. Michelle. My mission is to empower conscientious women entrepreneurs to create a life full of abundance, purpose, health, wealth, and joy. In this podcast, you'll learn how to elevate your health, lifestyle, and surroundings so you can tap into your power, show up more confidently, and focus on what really matters. Sharing your gifts, better serving your clients, and showing up even more for the people you love. This is today's businesswoman, the wealthy woman. Hey ladies, welcome back to another episode. It is the last day of the year, and I am so excited to bring this interview to you at this particular time because this interview with Danielle was transformational, honestly. I'm so excited to expose you to her philosophies and her way of being because she's got so many amazing perspectives around the law of attraction and mindset and just so many things that are going to really, really help propel you and your life and your business come 2019. So listen up, take notes, and I hope you love this interview. So to give you a little bit of background, Danielle is a certified coach with the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and she's currently a member of Bob Proctor's Inner Circle and a rare silver pin holder at the Institute. And that means she is one of the top 10 coaches worldwide. This lady knows what she is doing. She is also a mother, a wife, an inspirational speaker, and a social marketing entrepreneur. Danielle works with and is mentored directly by Bob Proctor as a Proctor Gallagher Institute consultant and certified coach. She is passionate about the universal laws and travels the world as a speaker and success coach. She consults and works with companies of all sizes all over the world. Her list of clients includes successful entrepreneurs, lawyers, real estate agencies, insurance companies, world-renowned actors and artists, top athletes, as well as sales teams, and has recently created a school program in Toronto at Stratford. So super cool. She also facilitates a comprehensive mindset program called Thinking into Results with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. The program itself was created by Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher to empower people for a lifetime. So, welcome, Danielle. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Tell our audience a little bit about you and how you help women.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm really grateful to be here. So my name is Danielle Amos, and I'm located outside of Toronto. And I work with entrepreneurs, women who are looking to create their own business or maybe go through a little bit of change, or perhaps they know they could be doing better than what they're doing. And I help women understand their mind and how their mind really dictates everything that they're experiencing in their life. And I have been doing this for a few years. I was first a client of this work. I was an entrepreneur looking or just knowing that I could be doing better. And I was really frustrated. So I was working harder, longer hours, and not quite where I wanted to be. And I was introduced to Bob Proctor, who is my mentor, and I work very closely with him now. He's from the movie The Secret. A lot of people know him from that, from the law of attraction. But to me, he's really he's 84. So he's been studying the mind and what makes people successful for the past 57 years. So he's very well versed in this. And I work now with him and teach people how to really control their minds so that the outside circumstances aren't affecting them, and they can be as successful as they're meant to be and abundant as they're meant to be.
Ugh, I love that. And you're a part of this special inner circle of his, right? Tell us a little bit about that. What is that? What does that mean?
Yeah, so well, there's thousands of consultants all over the world that work for the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And I am in his inner circle, and there's a small group of us, so under 20, and we actually have to qualify to become part of the inner circle. It's not something that you can pay for. It's all on your own effort and your success. So how many people you've helped then be successful, reach their goals through our program. And so the last time there were about 17 of us in the inner circle, and we're just qualifying again for the next one in February. And it means that we get personal mentorship with Bob. We work directly with him. We have the opportunity to be at his events as his very specific coaches. So it's a very unique opportunity. And I've had on my goal card, and part of my goal is to be a protege of his. So that's definitely coming true in the last, it's been about 8 months now that I've had.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It's cool to see, like, I've been using the material for myself, right? So, to go from being one of the thousands and then up, in the top 20 and actually top 10 worldwide was pretty cool to watch myself do it.
Yes, absolutely. And I've seen some of your content. You talk about this coachability aspect when you work with your clients, and how it really is a process and kind of a strategy, if I'm picking up what you've been saying. And so there really is sort of this step-by-step process or transformation that happens, and it's kind of like this letting go. Like the person say, I was your client. It's like I would need to completely let go of control and allow you to coach me through that process. Is that right?
Absolutely. And, Napoleon Hill says, like, we can't, from the book Think and Grow Rich, like, he can't give you something if you're willing to hold on to what you have, right? There's a vacuum law. So you have to let go of the old you and allow us to show you this process. And you are absolutely correct. It is a step-by-step method. Success leaves clues. Right? And a lot of the most successful people in the world, they may not know exactly what they're doing, but it's actually a science. And we teach that science. I love it because I'm a science girl. So
yeah,
I love
me too. Like talking to you earlier when you were saying you were a biochem major, I was a biology major. Like I've got this super nerdy science part of me. So I love that masculine energy around like strategy and structure and all of that. And so that's really, really, really appealing to me, because I think a lot of people in the space of, the law of attraction space, the woo and all of that, it's very amorphous. It's very, it's like not tangible, right? And so I think what you're doing is really interesting and really helpful and powerful for women in this space. So
what's interesting is that if you can think about it, like, we all are aware of the law of gravity. So if I was to drop a pencil, we know it's going to fall to the ground, not go to the roof. Right? So, and that law is exact. But when we were born, we didn't know about the law of gravity. As a baby, we were fumbling around trying to figure it out. And eventually we learned it. But the law of gravity didn't not work for the baby just because they weren't aware of it. The exact same things are true for the other laws of the universe, but we just don't know about them or understand them, so we're not living in harmony of them. But the effects of them still affect us every single day, even though most of us are ignorant, meaning not knowing or not understanding of them. So I like to teach it as simple as the law of gravity. And so if people can understand that, then they can understand the rest of the laws. And then we're living in harmony with it, right?
I love that. That makes it so much easier to grasp. That's awesome. So I'm curious to know more about you and your background, like what motivated you to become a woman entrepreneur and really own this path for yourself?
Yeah, great question. Well, I always actually worked for someone else. My past career was in food tourism, and I found myself working and taking different companies or someone else's goal to the top. And I was okay with that, but I always saw myself like being the front person, even though I wasn't the front person. And so I had this drive to be an entrepreneur. And I had tons of ideas. I just didn't know what it was. And to be honest, I was nervous about the financial commitment, about what it meant to be an entrepreneur. So I thought, maybe it's a restaurant. And then I thought perhaps it's a local food tourism farm like experience. And I went through all these ideas and looked at the capital I needed. And that totally had me scared because I had been working for someone else, right? I didn't have that kind of money. So I was introduced to network marketing when I was in my corporate job and to represent a brand that I love. And I jumped into that. And that was my first experience being an entrepreneur. And because I've had success in my corporate career, I assumed that I would go to the top in this company. And I didn't. I was not so great at sales, and I was not so great at sharing the opportunity. I really cared what other people thought. And I come from that corporate career with, my image that I had created for myself, and selling products on the side just didn't match that. And so that I worked harder and I was harder on myself. Like, what is it? And I found myself getting really frustrated, which is how I found the work of Bob Proctor. I took his course, and within 6 months, my income in the network marketing company tripled.
Oh my goodness.
I started winning awards, and I earned the next 3 trips. So my family got to go to Mexico and Bahamas and on a cruise, all paid for. And I started winning awards, and all of a sudden I was attracting people to me. And I didn't really understand what happened, but I just followed. I was coachable, right? I followed the system. And then from there, I felt so much relief because I realized it wasn't me. It was just that I wasn't programmed to be a salesperson. Like, I just wasn't working in harmony with the laws. So I knew I needed to help other women because I met so many entrepreneurs that were so hard on themselves. And I kept hearing the same thing. Well, it's because I have this other job, or it's because I'm a mom, or I just don't have enough time. And I just need to work harder. But I knew that wasn't true. Like, that's a huge paradigm we have in the world, that we just need to put more hours in.
Yes.
And so because I had experienced the opposite, I was actually working less, and our life was way more abundant. I needed to get into this space. But it's interesting that you asked that, if I can go on.
Please.
So because when I look back and connect the dots, that's something that I've heard before, that we can't see the path going forward. But if we actually look back, we can take a look. And when I was in university, this is a story I was sharing with you. When I was in university, I studied pre-med, and I wanted to be an eye doctor. And I got there, and all of a sudden I was with people that also had 90s averages. And I found it really challenging because it was so competitive. And in my second year, I was in physics, and I had an exam that I had an anxiety attack, a panic attack. And I left the exam, and I thought, that's it, I'm done. Because it was 100% exam. And I went on that week, and I had another exam, which was anatomy, and I got 30% in it. So I just was spiraling down. And you can see how this happens in our life. We have one failure, and it will continue to be that way because it hits you. It's an emotional impact, right? It hits you so hard. And I remember going to see my physics professor, and she said, Danielle, this stuff. She said, with your permission, I'd like to put you in like a meditative trance. I want to give you this exam orally. I want to ask you questions. And I had no idea what meditation was at that time. And so I let her do that. And I got pretty close to perfect. I think it was 98% on the exam.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Like, the fact that person was placed in your life at that moment in time, like, whoa.
I understood that it was there, that the knowledge was there, right? So oftentimes we think that, if I can bring this back to my sales thing, well, I just need to learn how to sell better. Well, no, the knowledge is there. It's just that you are stopping yourself from letting it out, right? So this professor showed me that, and she told me about a Buddhism professor at Queen's, where I went. And so she told me that I should go speak to her. So I went and spoke to the professor, and I immediately enrolled into the Buddhism course for the next year. And I started taking all my electives were then in women's study and Buddhism and things like meditation. And, this is quite a long time ago, but it's interesting because I remember writing a paper on the Dalai Lama back. I was about 21, which then led me to India when I graduated to take meditation courses. And they were talking about karma and things like vibration when I was in India to me. And now to see what I do now for my work, like I've pulled off so many of my old books from when I was 20 because they completely relate. So, but I had to do this, go around and around to all these other careers to get back to where I am.
Oh my goodness. And I feel like so many entrepreneurial women can relate to that, right? Like we try this, we try that, we dabble in this, and all of those things are giving us, we're kind of just collecting all of these tools for that one thing. But if we had gone straight to that one thing, we wouldn't be as well equipped, right? Whether physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually ready for that. So I think that so many people can relate to that. It's such a beautiful process. Mm-hmm. Okay. So how do you stay motivated when things don't go as planned?
Well, a couple things. Who you are surrounded by is very important to your community. And we've heard it before, but we are a product of the 5 people we spend the most amount of time with. And for me, it's very important that my 5 are actually where I want to go. So I spend as much time as I can around Mr. Bob Proctor. And I have a few other coaches in that arena that are, earning the money that I want to earn, as aware as I want to be. And they have the business or the family life that I want to have. So I think of all areas of my life. That's one way. The other way, and I actually hear Bob talk about this all the time. He said, it's not how positive we are when things are going well. It's not how grateful we are when things are going well. It's actually a true leader. It's how their mind is when things are not going their way. And so I really take a look at that. And I have a deep respect for one of the laws called the law of rhythm. And the best way to think about it is the tide. And the laws you can see in nature, just like the law of gravity, right? So the law of rhythm is when a tide goes out, it must come back in. So if we're not currently getting the results that we want at this moment, the tide has to go out in order for it to bring you good stuff back. And so if we can remain calm when the tide is out and love ourselves and really take the time to reflect and understand where our mind is, because we've attracted all that in life's happening for us, right? Not to us. And we can understand that it must come back in with so much abundance. And so if we can let go, those 2 things for me have been really important.
I love that. Like, kind of makes me well up a little bit. Just that visual of the tide is so, so, so beautiful. And I think keeping that in mind when things aren't going as planned is so, so, so powerful. Thank you.
I have a statement on, just in front of my computer, and it says, life is always happening for me. So that everything is perfect. We're right where we're meant to be.
Yes. I love that.
I think we can find so much grace and in life with ourselves if we really truly understand that statement.
Absolutely. It's stepping out of that victim mentality of things are happening to us all the time. And we're just back to what we were talking about, those limiting beliefs around I don't have time, or I don't have this, or I'm identifying as this, or blah, 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 blah. Those are us getting in our way, right? But I feel like that's so, so, so related. Stepping back and just saying, no, I'm not a victim, I'm an empowered woman, human being, whatever, and I have control to create my reality.
Absolutely. And the first step in that is taking responsibility.
Yes.
Take responsibility, because everything in our life we are responsible for. We attracted the good, the bad, and the amazing.
Yes.
And so if we're not willing to take responsibility, which allows us to step out of that victim, and believe me, I play victim very well, then that's the first step. Then once we realize that, you're right, we're like, wow, I actually am, I can have anything I want. Not necessarily when I want, because there's always a gestation period, and though it's still coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. I love that you call that a gestation period. It's so true, right? It's like it's building up.
Yeah.
But it's coming.
Coming. That's right. But we don't know how long that's hot, like
Yes.
we can't predict it. Same thing,
Totally.
if you think of a farmer, we plant, carrots in our backyard. We don't know exactly when the top of the carrot's going to come through the ground and it's ready to harvest.
Mm.
And we have to do our best to like take away the weeds. And the weeds are like the fear, doubt, and worry in our mind. And the carrot seed is our dream. But we don't get to say, it really depends how much love and sun and fertilizer and water we give it, right? Instead of, and taking out the weeds. So
totally.
Say.
And we're not going to say like, okay, carrot, you're going to be ready on, April 16th, like it's going to come. We know it's going to come. We just need to make the environment amenable or whatever for it to grow and thrive.
Yeah, got it. And awesome. You got
it. I love it. I think I know the answer to this question, but what book or person has inspired you the most?
Yeah, good. I definitely Bob Proctor. I mean, his book, You're Born Rich. For your listeners, I can get you a PDF copy. You can
awesome. Thank you. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's a great book, and he's definitely influenced me. Beyond that, there's two books that I carry around with me: Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Both books written a long time ago, and are very the ones that need to be repeated often. I actually read the same chapter for 30 days in those books.
Oh my goodness. I love that ritual.
It's cool. Really important for it to sink in, and it's against, the logic and how we're taught to study. But that's really how we start reprogramming the mind, is that repetition.
I love that. I saw that there was a documentary that came out recently, right? The Think and Grow Rich documentary too. So, another resource. What's that?
It was well done.
Yeah. I actually watched it. I liked it. All right. So let me see here. What else do I want to ask you? What is the most terrifying, risky, or profound decision that you've had to make in regards to your business?
Wow. Okay. So, well, to be honest, when I became an entrepreneur, I had quit my corporate job, and I didn't really have a plan, but I just got so frustrated that I quit. And I remember coming home from telling my husband, and, to lose the 6-figure income on like one day. And my business was not making a whole lot of money, like just a couple thousand a month. And that was pretty scary. And I actually got stopped in that fear. So have you ever been like paralyzed by your decision? Like you jump and then I'm like, okay, now I don't know actually what to do. And we have bills to come in. So that was pretty scary. And then on top of that, I invested in Bob's course, which, if you go into like the what ifs, which that's where people get into trouble, they start entertaining the what could happen. And instead, luckily, I really listened to my coach, and I was coachable and kept my vision on where I was going. And I've seen people entertain the worry stuff, on their own. And that's what happens. I mean, where we put our energy and our focus, that's where it's going to go. That's the reality. Totally. So that was scary. And then after I was a client and I decided to then become a coach, I hit another what I call a terror barrier, because I needed to invest in becoming certified, which I knew was another financial investment, and more just like who am I to share this material? Like I really, it played with my mind. Like, how could I ever be someone like Bob Proctor? And I had put him on such a pedestal. But it's interesting because I had a conversation with Bob right when I was making the decision, and he said, "Do you want this?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "That's the only thing you ever consider when you're making a decision." Nothing else matters. And I said, well, I don't have the money. And he said, you don't need the money until you make the decision. Once you make the committed decision, the money shows up. Sure enough, this is a true story. I walk into my bank and I was depositing my husband's check. And the woman at the bank said to me, Danielle, did you know that you've been approved for a line of credit? And I said, no, like that's impossible because just 4 months ago I quit my job. And if you saw my income, like, and you know, we had been going there for quite a while. I was like, it's not for me. It must be for Paul. And she said, no, it's in your name. And it was, and the exact amount I needed for the deposit for the program.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
I took it and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to tell anyone about this because my parents would tell me that was irresponsible for me to go into debt. It was the best decision I ever made. And investing in yourself is always the best decision that you will ever make.
I could not agree more.
And Bob said to me, if you want it, he said to me, Danielle, I'll show you how to make that past yearly income your monthly income. I was like, not in my mind. I didn't know what that meant at that time. But yeah, so that was pretty scary.
Absolutely. There's a couple things where just what you were just saying that popped up for me that I want to touch on. And that's one, the investment that you mentioned, because I think that something that, you know, really needs to be addressed for a lot of people is the fact that money is energy. And if we move that energy, and especially if we invest that energy, like in ourselves and with someone else, like we are moving that energy. And I think that there's something so magical that happens there because there's an investment, not only like, yes, we are sort of like giving energy, but we're also opening up this new space for us to receive so much more. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel, you know what I mean?
Well, what you're doing is you are saying yes to your future. And so that the universe just has to come back and reward you. And you're right, money is energy and it's meant to be kept in circulation.
Yes.
It must be used.
Yes.
Or it's worthless.
Yes.
So it's really important to make that jump, put something down.
Yeah.
And you'll be rewarded. And I can see that in my clients. I'm sure you can see it in your clients. I can see it all the time. It happens. And I'm getting texts and I say, you know, you have to then be open to recognize the good that comes as soon as you've done this, and then text me because the universe loves evidence. Like we love to be recognized.
Yes.
So if we put focus on that abundance that comes in as soon as you invest, it just keeps coming.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, so it's no coincidence, right? None of this is a coincidence.
Totally, totally. And then you also mentioned, you know, and like we tend to get into these negative spirals around like what ifs, right? And it's like, what if we shifted that mindset and our what ifs turned into these like amazing things? Like, what if I made all of this money? What if I had all of this abundance with my family, with my love life, with whatever else? Like, what if we just switched that, you know, instead of the negatives, but like, what if all of this infinite possibility was at my fingertips?
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on.
I love that.
There's 3 questions that I ask people when they think about, like that first question that Bob asked me, what do you want? Is key. And if they want it and they have that desire, like you can't help anyone without a desire, then they make the committed decision. And then what does life look like? You know, 6 months after you've said yes, right? Doing whatever you're investing in. And 2, based on that, is it wise for you to do this? 3 is what is the impact if you wait? How long are people, like so many people are like, I'll do it when they're home, or I'll do it when I get my bonus. You know what? They'll never do it. No. There's never a when.
Yeah.
The worst decision.
Yep.
Someone can make.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you there because when you're needing to make a decision like this that's going to be transformational for your life, you need to give it an absolute yes, like a 100% yes or 100% no, and like own it either way. If you do that what if or when this happens or maybe, that just takes the pressure off, but it just creates stagnation. And it's like, you know, you really need to just step in and own one of those decisions, I think.
Yeah, you got it. And think about the energy you're giving to your goal.
Yeah.
If you want it and you're waiting, you're saying the same thing
Totally.
to what you want. So the right people won't come. See, what happens is when you've made the committed decision and you jump, all the resources you need to make that goal happen come to you. That's why, and by law, so by science, right? So, because everything's energy. So by doing that, the people that you need, the money you need, the time you need, the health you need, it all comes.
Yes. Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Do you have any self-care practices to help you recharge? And if so, what are your non-negotiables?
Well, yes, I do. So daily meditation. I also wake up quite early, 5 o'clock every morning. And saying that, I was in bed by 8:30 last night. Not every night, but I sleep is a non-negotiable between 6 and 8 hours. Also, so meditation, sleep, working out. I'm at the gym, and I've recently I have a trainer now. So I do some weights. I also do some yoga and Pilates. And my time, like time for me, is actually in my schedule. And I
love hearing that.
I've had to, because you know what? I'm the most important person to me.
Yes.
And I have to put my oxygen mask on first to help other people. And including my daughter. So like, or my husband, and I had to really explain that one to my family, because if we don't do it, like, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, especially as a mom, like we can make. So my time and my calendar, like as I look at my phone, I have strict integrity with my calendar. You will not move any meeting unless it's an emergency, and I'll have emergency blocks even in there. But if a bath is scheduled, I'm
going to be in that bath. Right. I love it. I think that's so important. I talk to my clients about that all the time, because if you don't create that time in your schedule, something else is going to fill it, like guaranteed. Especially for us, like women who are like constantly doing, right?
Yeah, and what that says, so like that's a great question for your listeners. If you're allowing something that looks like it's an emergency, like well, my daughter needed this for school, or someone got sick in your family and you had to go to the rescue, know that you've attracted to you that circumstance because of something in your self-image, something in your mind had that be so that you put that first rather than yourself. Does that make sense? So I personally, it's not that my daughter doesn't get sick, but that actually doesn't ever interrupt. Does that make sense?
Ooh, yeah.
I don't attract it to me.
Oh, I love that.
So it's a good way for like your listeners to reflect, to go, wait a minute. Like, does that happen to me often, or where it looks like it's an outside circumstance, right?
Right.
Something out of their control.
Yes. Oof. And those things can so easily trip us into and trigger those victim mentality, right? Like that outlook of like, oh, this just keeps happening to me, blah, 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 blah. Oof, oof. Such good stuff.
I've heard Napoleon Hill say, he talks about reasons and excuses and alibis. And it's one of the reasons for failure. If you can list a reason why you haven't hit your goal, or an alibi or an excuse, if you're going to allow those to be in your presence, and it's not about like working so that you get through it. It's just like, what am I attracting? Right.
So good. Okay. What entrepreneurial tricks or hacks have you discovered to keep you focused and productive during your busy schedule? I know your schedule itself is one of them.
Yeah. Well, one of the greatest things, and I learned this from Earl Nightingale, who is Bob Proctor's mentor, actually. He told about an idea that came from W. Clement Stone, and it was called the $25,000 idea. And the idea is this, and back then $25,000 was a lot of money. The idea is this, is every night before you go to bed, make a list of 6 things that you want to accomplish the next day for your business to move you closer towards your goal. And they need to be 6 things that you can do. Like, if you're writing a book, don't write the whole book. Don't put that on your list. Maybe write a page, right? So 6 things that you can do and execute. And the next morning, you want to go to your schedule. And I actually have working time blocked. And then you schedule them in and you prioritize the 6. So you do the most important income producing activity first. And you focus on it. Turn everything else off on your screen. My phone goes over and I work on it till I'm done, or my schedule has me move to a call or my next appointment. And you don't move on to number 2 until you've completed number 1. And at the end of the day, you look to see what you got done and you say, what did I do well? What could I improve and what can I implement to improve? And what do I need to delegate, delete, or delay?
Yes.
There's some things that I don't get done, I move to the next day, right? Obviously. But that changed my life, doing that, and actually getting clear the night before. And the second one would be that hack of the schedule, have integrity, keep your word to yourself because you love yourself to your schedule.
Absolutely.
You'll notice that things flow.
I love that. Awesome. So what are your top 3 blogs or podcasts that you couldn't imagine your day without?
Well, there's one, Shayna Recker's podcast. So she's a network marketing professional. I love her podcast, Shayna Recker. She does really great interviews with entrepreneurs. So not only network marketers, but women entrepreneurs and people that have online businesses. I've learned a lot from her. I also listen to a lot, not so much podcasts, but I listen to a lot on YouTube of Abraham Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
So I love their work. And whenever I have a moment or I'm driving somewhere, I go to YouTube to their videos. They're not quite the same thing, but and then for blogs, I have a few. I love Amanda Francis's work as well. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram. Another woman that's very inspiring women to do business online. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
Awesome. Yeah, I will definitely link to those in the show notes for sure. Thank you. All right. So if you had a little magic in your pocket, what is the one thing that you would change in the world?
Ooh. I would change so right now, most of the people that are living, like 97%, are programmed to look for what's wrong, to look at negativity first. And it's a result of our upbringing. Unless you're, I don't know, born into like the Kennedy family or some very wealthy family where you look and see what's right and abundant first, we are programmed to see what's wrong. And there's a few reasons for that. But I think that if we could immediately arrive in every situation in our life and just see the good in other people and voice it, it would allow us to remain in understand that we're truly creative beings, that we create our life and there's no such thing as competition. It would just take away so much resentment and anger and that competitive feeling that's out there. And it would be very beautiful. Like, could you imagine, we're in a room full of women networking and there's other women complimenting each other and asking how we can help each other and noticing I love your shoes, oh, I just heard your interview the other day. You did really great. Like, how can I help get that out? Something, it would
totally.
It would change things. So that's what I would do. And it would just be a switch in mindset where we would notice what was good first.
I love it. I love that you said and voice it too. I love that because, I feel like so much of us doing inner work, it stays inside almost instead of really, practicing it in a way that helps that ripple effect and helps other people see the good, right? Because maybe that compliment was exactly what that person needed to hear at that time. And if you withheld that and just thought it, and you're like thinking good thoughts or whatever about that person, you know, you kind of miss an opportunity perhaps to like plant a seed, or who knows, right?
And everything is built on connection and vibration, right? It's like such a primary law. So if you think of what you would be in an amazing vibration if all you did was look for the good and then voiced it, and then you would be shifting that vibration on to someone else, and you would attract more amazing people to you. And like, wow, it just, yeah, you're right. It would have such a ripple effect.
Yeah. I'm like getting chills.
Yeah.
Is there anything, no, I want to ask you, what is your current project or passion?
Yeah. So, well, I have quite a big goal where I'm looking to work with thousands of people, and I'm actually looking to bring this work into underprivileged communities so that I can work with women and really prove to the world that it doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter what their current situation is, that if a person has a makes a committed decision and has a desire, that I can actually show them how to become a millionaire if that's what they wanted, just by using their mind. And I'm looking to build a tribe of women all over the world that want to learn to do that themselves. And then I see us actually traveling and working with communities. So one of the communities I'm looking into is in my own backyard here in Toronto. And then I want to take that and work with a community in India. And I think it's really powerful. I don't know how I'm going to do it at the moment. It's like one of those really big goals that I really fantasize about and imagine. But I'm attracting the right people to me to make that happen.
And we don't need to worry about the how, right? The how is where the universe takes care of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I just keep putting my energy into the imagination part and fantasizing and knowing that this is possible because I can see it here.
Yes.
It's a matter of time that I'm doing that.
Ugh, how amazing. I love that. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to share with the audience?
No, I think that's great. I really appreciate your time and this opportunity.
Oh my goodness, it's been so much fun and super, super, super valuable. How can people find you? I know they're going to want to look you up.
Yes. Okay. So the best place is on Instagram _Danielle_Amos_. My website's almost done, DanielleAmos.co. If you can believe this, I've had this business all this time without a website. So
I love that.
The paradigm that people have that they need to have the business card and stuff. No, you don't.
Yeah, no.
So DanielleAmos.co up very shortly. And then on Facebook too, I have a great group. Mastering Your Mindset. It's a private group, and I'll give you the link, Michelle. And I put free classes in there and content to help women in their everyday lives.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for just all of the gems that you've shared today and sharing your story. It's just, I think it's such an inspiration to other women who are perhaps struggling or are even, successful yet wanting to take their lives to the next level. So I just think there's so much that you're doing in the world, and I'm so excited to see what you're going to do next.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. So that is a wrap. Wasn't that an awesome interview? I love the philosophy of the law of attraction and the universal laws in general. It's just so amazing. And I love how Danielle has the ability to really bring it home and make it tangible for us. So I'm going to link all of her contact information in the show notes. So definitely check that out. And I will chat with you next week. All right, ladies, thank you for listening to another transformational episode. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? You know my mission is to help inspire and empower women to share their gifts, better serve their clients, and show up even more for the people they love. So if you enjoyed this episode, leave an awesome review so more women can find us and join us in creating a life of wealth.